Welcome to this week's brand new episode of the Being Podcast, a safe space I've created for us to come together and discuss, encourage, help one another, and tweak if we need to in the ways in which we believe, engage, innovate, navigate, and gain in every area of our lives. I am your host, Jada. Welcome to another week. Thank you for taking time to listen and to share and just to be in this space with me and with each other. You know, community is so big. I think it is imperative for all of us to have those safe spaces where we can be ourselves, where we know we're not going to be judged. That when people come and suggest something, or if they see something and want to say something, that it is coming from, a true, genuine place of love and care and concern, that we're not here for any extra drama. We're not here to be bystanders of other people in their lives because we're trying to disregard our own. That is not what this is. Community for me is just the positive and the coming together and the pushing one another when we need it. Because I will tell you, I have had a crazy week, and I don't know if somehow it was supposed to be aligned for my message last week to be for me specifically. If you haven't checked it out, please do. I was just talking about feel the feels, right? Life is going to life. Things are going to happen. And so a lot of times we will try to, act as though it's not happening, or we'll try to sweep it under the rug. We will just do anything to avoid dealing with it, right? And we can have our family, our friends, society, whoever sitting up here telling us like, oh, just get over it. Don't worry about it. Keep going. And I am just here to say that no, sometimes you have to just take a beat, take a pause, like take a breath, and realize that things are happening whether you want them to or not. And it is more than okay to just take that moment to feel the feels. So last week I put that out last Wednesday, and because every week a new episode is going to drop on Wednesdays, whether you're watching me on the YouTube channel or if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Appreciate you. But last Wednesday I dropped that episode, and when I tell y'all, it has been the craziest week because my twins are, I don't know. They're 3 or almost 4. So not even 3.5. They're almost 4. They'll be 4 this summer. And, they talk about like, the terrible twos and the three nagers. I think that's what they're saying, right? They're supposed to be like teenagers because they're starting to kind of figure some things out, and they're trying to, test the waters, test our patience. And if you're a mama or a daddy out there listening, you know what I'm talking about. And even if you're not like a mom or dad, but you're an auntie, you're a godmama, any of those things, anybody that is out here who has dealt with or is dealing with children, you know what I'm saying. Like, they are just going through and trying to figure it out. And on one hand, I'm like, that's great, right? That's part of the process. I guess that's what I signed up for, in this thing called motherhood. But it has just been a lot. And I am having to feel the feels. I am having to understand, and, what I want to get into this week, just kind of prepping for it, but just understanding that no matter what I intend to do, my intentions can be great. No matter how I do it, try to execute it. Like, it might make sense to me, right? But the recipient may not receive that instruction, or whatever I'm trying to do, right? So we can have the greatest intentions. We can think that we're executing, and it may still fall short. And so then we wind up where I was, where they're like, Mrs. Hartfield, we love your babies. We know you're doing all you can, and we're grateful, but we're gonna need for you to come pick them up because they are not listening. They are very defiant. And it's just not going to be safe. And I understand it. And they have been working with me, and I love them for that. I love that when you can find people, and we'll get into this a little bit more, like in your community, that can understand where you're at. Maybe they've been there, or even if they haven't, they can still have sympathy for you and give you that grace and give you that space as you're trying to work through it. And I needed that. And so, as my babies are being asked to leave because they can't get it together, I'm calling my support team, and they're just leaning into me and they're reassuring me that you are a good mom. You are doing all you can. Stay in there. I am so sorry. I wish I could be there like in real time, real life to hug you, but I'm sending virtual hugs. So that was me. And I had to take that advice and like feel the feels. And I had to say, okay, where are we at? Where do I want this to go? How do I turn it around? And we started doing that. And when I say we, my husband and I, like trying to implement things to get them back on course, right? Let's get back on track. So I was able to actually use that. If you've been able to feel the feels and turn a situation around, please let me know. I would love to hear it because, again, none of us are going through, life alone. So this week, I wanted to kind of touch on what do you do when you are faced with something, right? We're faced with things that we're not asking for. Maybe we tried something and it didn't, come out the way we thought it was going to. What do we do? How do we deal with that? And I don't want to like label it like it's not like a rejection or like a failure. It's none of that. But maybe you're just kind of like, okay, here's the result, right? Here's the result of that. And now I'm in this place. What do I do? And so I wanted to just kind of touch on a few different tips, if you will, that I've used. And I am praying that it will help you or at least one person. And if it's not you, pass this on to somebody. All right. So the first step is just being introspective, right? Like take some time, again, feel the feels, maybe process it through your mind, kind of think through like, okay, what has happened? What led up to this happening? And how do I want this to turn out? How does it need to shift, right? And so when we're taking time to do this, and I'm not saying that these are necessarily in any kind of order, I'm just giving some tips. So when you're in this introspective part, this is a good time to, if you're like me and a believer, maybe you're praying, maybe you're like, okay, God, I need you to download some things in my spirit because I don't get it. I don't know. I need you to order my steps. Like I need you to guide me, right? It could be that. It could be meditating, just being still long enough to just let things be, right? And maybe you are doing some breathing exercises. Maybe you are, I love to do emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, where you can regulate your body. That's a good time with the introspective, right? Like, how do you regulate your senses? Because if you're like me, when they're calling and they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm in this heightened state of like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What are they doing wrong? What is the the babies, what are they doing wrong? What are the caregivers, like going through all of these things and not necessarily want to place blame, but I'm human and it's going to happen. But then to just take a step back in the introspective piece of just being like, okay, what are the facts? Like I've been able to feel the feels. I felt all of that. And now I need to just like really strip out the bones. What are the facts and what do I really need to deal with? Not, oh, I'm so bad. Oh, I didn't do this right as a mom, or oh, they're doing like, no, let's take away that part. Like I felt that and wanted to be upset with all the people, all the players, right? But then when I just stopped, so I felt felt the feels, feeling all the things, and now I'm moving forward. I'm like, okay, what are the things, the facts, right? Because we can deal with facts and we can work on tweaking the facts to see if then we get a better or a different result, right? So while I'm doing this, it's like, okay, let me write out some things. For me, I think it is so crucial to get out of your head and onto paper. I know a lot of us are into gadgets, but if you can just get a journal, some paper, whatever, and just write it out, there's something that I think as you're thinking about it and you're writing it and you're having to make that connection, you get some revelation from that. So journaling, or maybe you have some like a book that prompts you with questions, right? Or maybe you have a coach, hey, who can help ask you some questions just to get you thinking of like, what are the facts of the situation, right? So being introspective, it just gives you a time and a space to just slow down. Let's take it from there. Let's slow down. The other tip I would say is make sure you have that community, right? Make sure you have that safe space that you can go to, whether it's a group type thing like we have here, or maybe it's a person. It can be husband, wife, spouse, partner, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's a best friend. Maybe it's an auntie or an uncle or a parent if you're still blessed to have your parents, like whoever that is or whomever that is, for if it's more than one person, like for you to go and say, you know what, this is what I'm dealing with, and I am at a loss, or I am on these high emotions. And so for me, it was calling my husband first to let him know what was going on. And then it was calling my brother because he has kids, he has grandkids, he knows me. So he was like, before I can even get it out, I'm like, hey. And he's like, uh-oh, what's wrong? And, I'm taking that long pregnant pause because I want to just burst into tears. And he's like, okay, take a breath. What's going on? Right. And so I started sharing what's going on and trying not to cry so he can understand me. And then, throughout the conversation, he was just like, do not blame yourself. This is not on you. Right. So he's like, now you just have to, hey, little sister, you got to grow up. You got to learn how to do this motherhood thing. Right. And so he gave me some tips. He gave me some suggestions. And then, but most importantly for me, for what I needed, he just invigorated who I know I am. Like the mom I am, the mom I want to be, the person that I am, what I'm trying to instill in my babies, right? So he was able to make sure that I didn't lose sight of that, to not get so focused on what the actual event was, but to actually just break it down and not forget who I am and whose I am, and to move forward. So find your safe space, find your community, find your group, find your people, because they are the ones that you need to turn to when you just need that extra, like, hey, I know we always say, like, we're not trying to be validated, right? So I'm not saying like go to social media and put all your business out there, but I'm saying find that safe space so that they really can bolster you and help you to move forward, right? So I would say that. Another thing I think is important is finding an activity to release, like to release the frustration or to release just all the feelings that you may still be feeling, right? So for me, because I'm working out now, and I was literally, y'all, 4 minutes and 19 seconds into my workout when they called me for boy twin to come pick him up because they got split up and then they got put out at two different times. I have to laugh to keep from crying sometimes. But they called me 4 minutes and 19 seconds into my workout. And I had just called and I'm like, hey, are they good? Okay, cool. I'm going to work out. Then I'm going to come drop by and see them. And I'm into my workout and boom, get the call. So it made me have to shift my day. But because I was so frustrated, when I did have time to come and work out, I was able to just get that out, get that energy out, right? So you may exercise. Maybe you just go for a walk. Maybe you paint. And I don't know, that just came to mind because my baby girl, she's like a little artist, my oldest, and maybe it's painting or drawing or I don't know, video games. I don't do video games, but whatever it is that you can kind of just release some of this pent up energy that is causing you angst, right? Do that. Find a way to just get rid of that. And you'll probably feel a lot better. And you're most likely going to prevent yourself from doing something silly, right? Something that you may not be able to come back from. So, we are all dealing with things. I don't want to prolong this. I wanted to just share what I have personally gone through this past week, having to feel the feels, having to take time to just like by myself, what is going on? What am I feeling? And then what are the facts? So stripping the facts from the feelings, calling my brother, calling my husband, calling my good friends, to just help encourage me, to remind me of who I am again, right? And what I'm doing, and giving me some suggestions too, because most of them are parents or aunties or whatever who have been there and done it before. So I tapped into my community, into my safe space. And then of course I did my workout and I was able to release that. So those are just a few tips. I appreciate y'all being here. I pray that things that life is not lifing too hard for you. But if it is, just take some time and know that it's not the end all be all. There's going to be something else. But this is also an opportunity for us to grow and to learn and to say, okay, if or when this comes up again or something similar, I am better able to react to it. I am better able to deal with it. And then I can make changes along the way and pour in and help somebody else. All right. With that, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.